At 8,500 feet above the Montana high country, a single-engine jet lost all thrust. The throttle moved. The engine didn't respond. Two pilots had seconds to answer one question: punch out or ride it down. They chose to land in a field with the gear up, and they both walked away. This is the L-39 Albatros engine failure and gear-up off-field landing near Ennis, Montana on April 10, 2026. The crew was conducting an instructional flight out of Bozeman Yellowstone International when the aircraft's single engine rolled back to zero thrust on approach. The National Transportation Safety Board released a preliminary report on May 10th. Information at this stage is preliminary, drawn from that NTSB prelim and corroborating regional reporting. But the basic sequence is established, and it surfaces a procedural question that sits at the heart of single-engine jet operations. When the engine quits and the ground is coming up, do you eject or do you try to land? The Aero L-39 Albatros is a Czech-built single-engine military jet trainer, the type that trained Warsaw Pact fighter pilots through the Cold War and now flies widely in private hands as a warbird and aerobatic platform. Single engine means exactly what it sounds like. One power plant, the Ivchenko AI-25TL turbofan. One engine, one chance. The aircraft was operating under Part 91, General Aviation Rules, on an instructional flight. The crew was a certificated flight instructor acting as pilot in command, with Senator Tim Sheehy of Montana in the student seat, preparing for an upcoming Czech ride. The destination for the practice approach was Ennis-Big Sky Airport, a small, uncontrolled field in the Madison Valley. No control tower, no radar separation. Pilots self-announce on a common frequency and rely on see and avoid. The approach in use was runway 16. Keep those details in mind: the field, the terrain, the single engine, because they all factor into the decision that comes next. The aircraft is descending through 8,500 feet mean sea level, indicating 190 knots, slowing for the approach to runway 16. Sheehy has the controls. The engine rolls back to zero thrust. Sheehy moves the throttle. No response. The instructor takes control immediately and establishes best glide, the specific airspeed that gives the most distance per foot of altitude lost. Relight attempts follow. The engine does not respond. Now the crew is managing a single decision with a hard deadline. Altitude is the currency, and it is spending fast. The L-39 carries Czech VS-1 BRI ejection seats. Both seats are live. Ejection is an option, but the instructor assesses the terrain, the glide range, and the available landing surfaces and makes the call. Gear up off-field landing in an open field. The aircraft touches down uphill and slides approximately 500 yards before coming to rest. Both pilots exit the aircraft. The instructor has minor injuries. Sheehy is uninjured. The airframe sustained substantial damage to the lower fuselage and both wings. What the NTSB prelim does not yet tell us is why the engine rolled back, and that gap is exactly where the investigation is focused. In a single-engine jet, an engine failure on approach compresses a textbook procedure into a very short window. You establish best glide, you run the restart checklist, and simultaneously you are calculating whether you have a runway in range. The eject versus land matrix in most military and ex-military single-engine jets comes down to three variables: altitude, terrain beneath you, and proximity to a prepared surface. The general principle, and this is what every L-39 operator trains to, is that above a certain decision altitude, ejection is the conservative choice. Below it or over terrain where ejection itself carries high risk, a gear-up forced landing on a suitable surface may be the better call. At 8,500 feet MSL in the Madison Valley, the crew had time to run the restart checklist and assess the field options. Ejection was available. The instructor elected the off-field landing. Whether that call was within the L-39's published decision altitude guidance, and whether the selected field was within best glide range from that altitude are the specific questions the NTSB is now working through. That's the procedural lens. Now let's look at what the investigation will examine and what this event tells us about civilian-owned ex-military jets. Ex-military jets in private hands occupy a specific regulatory space. Many fly under experimental exhibition rules, which means maintenance requirements differ from certified aircraft. The II-25TL turbofan has a long service history, but engine rollback events, whether from fuel contamination, fuel control unit failure, or compressor issues, are not unknown in the type. The NTSB, led by investigator Elliot Simpson, will examine the engine itself, the fuel system, the maintenance logs, and whether the relight checklist was completed in full or cut short by terrain and time pressure. The eject versus land decision will also receive scrutiny, not as a criticism of the crew, but because that decision matrix is exactly what future operators of similar aircraft need to learn from. This outcome was survivable. Not every single-engine jet failure in civilian hands has been. Investigators are now examining the recovered airframe, the engine, the fuel system, and maintenance records, with the NTSB preliminary findings as the starting framework. There is no official cause determination yet, and a full probable cause report will take months. We will cover it when the board publishes. Our thoughts are with the instructor, who walked away with minor injuries, and with everyone who made it out of a field in Montana on a Thursday afternoon.